Perfect. Yesterday, we covered the importance of why we should dig into our database first. We covered how to figure out the replacement value of your database, right? What is that database worth? What's it going to cost if you were to lose it all today? What would it cost you to replace it immediately instead of taking time to rebuild it? And we figured out the conversion ratio and the financial opportunity that exists in that database and the importance of getting your conversion ratio to a range of somewhere between 4 and 10% so that your database can yield its full potential, right? So oftentimes we operate much lower than that. Today, we're going to dig more into how to get it to its potential. But yesterday, in addition to that, we covered a seasonal plan to manage your database and got you thinking about an idea to step up your game to really bring an experience to your database and to your clients. Before we get started with today's information, does anybody have any questions, thoughts, or ahas from yesterday's class? You're welcome to unmute yourself, ask your question. You can raise your hand, or you can throw it in the chat box. I have full things ready to go today. All right. Then let's continue on. Today, we're going to stack on top of yesterday's lesson to give you some tangible action items to help you step up your database and those interactions with your database to help it yield its potential. Let's get that 10% conversion ratio, right? That's really what we want. We want for every 10 contacts in that database for it to yield 1 transaction this year. That would be fabulous. Remember, the MREA, or the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, talks about that it should be a 12-to-1 ratio was when it was originally published. They're finding more now that statistics, if you're interacting with your clients or your customers on a regular basis in your database, that's going to yield closer to a 10-to-1 ratio instead of a 12-to-1 ratio. So, but even with our example at like a 4% conversion rate, if you've got about 500 people in your database, it's still going to yield a substantial return. So let's dive in. And as always, as we move through this class today, if you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat box. You can raise your hand. You can unmute yourself. I try to kind of keep an eye on who's muted and who's unmuted in case you have a question. So feel free to stop me at any time to ask questions. Okay, the more interactive, the better. See if I can get my slideshow working today. There we go. I'm a little delayed. Oops. All right. So today, our learning objectives are quality over quantity when it comes to the contacts in our database. Then we're going to talk about breaking the mold and stepping up our game. In addition, we'll talk about how to tag your database to make it easier to navigate through and how to create a COI system or a circle of influence system that's going to bring the results that you're looking for. And as always, as I mentioned, throw those questions in the chat box, raise your hand, unmute yourself, whatever gets my attention so that you can ask those questions. So yesterday, we talked about what your database is worth, right? So if you're spending money on leads and you aren't systematically working your existing database, you may want to pump the brakes on the lead spend. Okay, the reason for that is that if we're spending money, we're throwing people into our database and we're not systematically connecting with those, we're losing financial opportunity and we're not managing our database correctly. So you really want to stop the spend, focus on putting systems and processes into place in your database so that you're actively working it, you're making those interactions, you're making those connections. Then once you've got those systems and processes in place, then you can resume the spend on those leads. The thought process is that we don't want you wasting money. And so if we're not systematically following up with those to turn them into transactions, why are we spending money on it? It's not just like, especially with, the big money spins, whether it's Realtor, Zillow, or whatever, you've got those leads that come in, and sometimes they transact right away, and sometimes they don't transact right away. Oftentimes they don't, because you have to build relationship. And statistics tell us that we have to interact with those people on average 8 times to turn them into a transaction. So if we don't have a process set up to interact with them 8 times to turn them into a transaction, let's get those systems in place first. Okay, that's where the quality over quantity comes into play, as it doesn't matter how many people are in your database if you're not connecting with them. So, right, so once you're consistent in your follow-up plan, then you can earn the right to add back in those paid leads to your lead generation plan. So next, as we begin contacting our database, we need to eliminate the people, right? So that was pump the brakes. We want to eliminate the people that do not have good contact information, or those false contacts in your database. And you may want to tag them as bad contact. You may decide to leave them in your database, or you may pull them out of your database altogether so they're not a distraction. And you may want to put those onto a spreadsheet. Okay. I don't recommend throwing them away. There's no wrong or right answer to it, and you could throw them away. But I don't recommend it, because at some point you may want to pull that spreadsheet back out of the bad contact information, or sort through your database for those bad leads and see if you can find good contact information for them. With all social media and stuff that we have right now, oftentimes we can find them if we don't have a good phone number or email address. Oftentimes we can dig into social media, or we can do like data mining on the internet and find some contact information for them. Or they may be people that maybe we had their addresses for some reason. Maybe they were an old farm or something, but we don't have a way to, contact them via phone or email. And we may want to leave them in there and just contact them with, or tag them with no contact information, and then go back and really start like dropping things off on their doorsteps or something to that effect if we have an address, but no actual way to contact them. Okay, so you may want to not throw them away. Once we sort out those bad apples, the next step is going to be to contact everyone in your database. Okay. And my guess is, when it comes to your database, most people have a handful of contacts that you talk with regularly, and some that you haven't talked with in quite some time. And, there might be reasons for that. Who knows what they are? Maybe you are nervous to make phone calls. There are people you haven't talked to in a while. Somebody in your past told you to like take everybody out of your phone and put it in your database. And you're like, oh, but like 90% of my phone contacts I haven't talked to in 5 years. So they're just going to sit in my database. No, we're going to contact them. Okay. We're going to call them. We want to have an actual human to human conversation, right? Because that's what's going to win their business. And even if you're like, Amy, most of my contacts in my database are like out of the area. They don't even live where I do business. That's okay, because we can collect referrals, right? So you could build your business. If most of your contacts are out of the area, you can build your business on referrals and sit back, collect a paycheck just for referring them with other agents in the area in which they live. Okay. But one of the best ways to connect with these people that we haven't talked with in a while is we have a simple script. So I'll show you that here in a minute. And then we want to remember that as we connect with these people in our database, that we want to systematize that process, okay? Because systematizing the process makes it easy to follow and to duplicate. So we're also going to dive in today with some of those systems to implement for that regular connection and what's going to bring you the results that you're looking for. So, simple scripts that can be used to connect with those that you haven't connected with recently. Right here. Hey, this is Amy. I'm a real estate agent. We spoke back in, maybe 2020 and lost touch. So what's your real estate plan for 2024? Right? Maybe you had old paid leads that they got thrown into your database. Maybe it's old open house leads. Maybe who knows what's sitting in your database, right? So this is a really easy way to connect with those people. Hi, this is Amy. I'm a real estate agent, or I'm a realtor. We spoke back in 2020 and lost touch. So what's your real estate plan for 2024? Right? Super easy. Okay. If you want to tweak it a bit to fit you better, you're welcome to do that. This is just a suggestion and an idea, something short, sweet, to the point, get you into that, right? Into that conversation of, are they looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in 2024? right? We're trying to identify who is going to raise their hand and say, yeah, I was thinking about buying, or I was thinking about selling, or we're waiting for the interest rates to go down, right? Whatever that might be. Okay. Once you make contact with them, you want to add them to your regular interaction plan. So our goal is, like, if I were to call through some of my database today with this script and I get a hold of them, my goal is, unless they say, hey, you know, something is going to cause me to want to connect with them sooner. If they're like, yeah, we're not sure what our plan is, we don't, you know, I don't think we're going to do anything this year, they're going to go on a quarterly call plan. So I'm going to connect with them today, and then I'm going to connect with them, you know, week 3, this is December. So we got January, February, March. So like mid to late March, they're going to go back on my task list to connect with them again. My goal from here on out is every person in my database is going to get a call once a quarter. Okay. And I do mean phone call. You can try to like text, you can try to avoid the phone calls. I know sometimes like we're afraid of the phones. Don't be afraid of the phones. Make those phone calls. It becomes a lot less awkward when it becomes a regular plan of action in your business. Okay. In addition to weeding out the bad apples in your database, right? You're going to want to tag your database in order to be able to easily sort the contacts in your database. So yesterday when we talked about a database and having like a contact management system or contact relationship manager, it'd be a CRM, having the ability to be able to tag those contacts is really important, because it makes it easy for us to sort through our database and easily know who falls into what category. Okay. So remember yesterday we talked about maybe like tagging missing information. If we're missing an email, we're missing a phone number, we're missing an address, we've already tagged those contacts that way. But there's a lot of other reasons to tag as well. So we're going to dive deeper into each of these categories, but we're going to make sure to tag our VIP and our COI. I'll go over that here in a minute. In addition to that VIP and COI tags, you're going to tag old leads with either hot, nurture, or watch, or some version of that. And then finally, you're going to make sure to tag or set reminders for your quarterly call plan. And you may also want to tag them with captured versus connected, where the lead came from, or what group do they belong to, and what is their intent. Okay, so there's lots of reasons to tag people, and people may have more than one tag. Okay, we're not limiting ourselves to one tag per contact. So let's dive into that VIP and the COI tags. So VIP are going to be your super important, your inner circle. Okay. Oftentimes your VIPs are going to be those that are past clients, both buyers and sellers, as well as those that have referred people to you. Okay. So people who have actually referred other clients to you. And keep in mind that someone might fall into that VIP category because they may have referred someone to you without actually being your client. They may not have actually done a transaction with you, and that's okay. If they're actively referring people to you or their past clients, they're going to fall into that VIP category. Those are going to be your cheerleaders. Okay. Those people that when they're talking to someone and that someone brings up real estate, they're like, oh my gosh, you got to talk to Michelle. She's fabulous, right? Your cheerleaders go into that VIP. Okay. The next tag that I would recommend is your COI, or your circle of influence. Some people call it sphere of influence. Either way works. So SOI or COI, right? And that's your circle of influence. You want to identify those people. Those are the people that you have relationship with and people who know who you are. Okay. People that if you pick up the phone and you call Jennifer, she's gonna be like, oh my gosh, it's Amy. She's calling me, right? She's going to know who you are. So that those people are going to get tagged as COI or SOI. They may not have done business with you yet. They may not have referred anybody to you, but you have relationship with them. Okay. Those are the two groups of people that you're going to get the most, that are going to get most of your energy and attention, right? And they're going to get the most interaction throughout the year, because those are going to be, you already have relationship. It's easier to turn transactions with people you have relationship with than people you do not. Okay. The next section of tags, in addition to our COI or SOI and VIP, is you're going to want to tag your contacts that expressed a desire to buy or sell real estate with some version of hot, nurture, or watch. Okay, it could be like ABC, it could be, who knows, 1, 2, 3, hot, nurture, watch. Those hot leads are going to be people that are looking to transact in the next 0 to 90 days, in the next 3 months. Okay. The idea there is those people, in addition to our regular connection plan that we're going to talk about, we want to be making sure that we're interacting with those people on a weekly basis. They are active and ready to go. Okay. The next group of people that we want to tag is nurture. And those are people that are looking to transact in the next 4 months to a year. Okay. We talked with them. They're like, oh yeah, we're ready, but our lease doesn't expire for 6 months and we don't want to move and break our lease. Right. Or, yeah, we want to buy a house this year, but our credit is shot and we're doing some things to step up our game there, but we're not quite ready yet. It's going to be a little while, right? Those are our nurture people. Those people we want to connect with bi-weekly, or basically twice a month. Okay. We want to stay in their game because at any time something may change and cause them to want to move forward sooner than what they thought. And then the watch people, so hot, nurture, watch are those that said, yeah, we're thinking about buying a home, or yeah, we're thinking about selling a home, but our kid is a senior year in high school, so we're probably not doing it for another year, right? They've expressed an interest in buying or selling a home, but their time frame really is outside of a year. Okay. Or maybe it's, yeah, but we need to save some money for a down payment. We don't want, private mortgage insurance on our loan. So we want to come up with 20% down, and we're factoring in that that's going to take us about 15 months, right? So those people are going to be the watch. Those people we're going to connect with on a monthly basis. Okay. Again, some things change, life happens, and they may want to do something sooner than what they thought. And so we always want to be top of mind with those people to make sure that we catch them when they're ready. Okay, any questions so far on tagging that database or this hot nurture watch? All right, moving right along. The other way that you might want to tag your database is you may want to tag them with your quarterly call plan. Okay, this will make it easy. If we tag them with our quarterly call plan, it's going to make it easy to open up our database each day and know exactly who we're going to call either today or this week or this month. The more specific, the better. So, right, so you may be using like a DTD2 plan. And if you haven't heard of that, it's called Do the Database 2. And what it does is it breaks your database down by the first letter of their last name. And they've used statistics to figure out which letters go well together so that statistically you're calling about the same number of people each week, right? So it pairs letters together, like A and W is week 1, B and E is week 2, and then it continues on like that. So if you are interested in that plan, if you just Google DTD2, it'll pop up, and it just stands for Do the Database 2. And that's a really good way to connect with people and to try to spread out those people in an equal basis on a weekly plan. They've broken it down into 13 categories because there's approximately 13 weeks in each quarter. Our goal is that with a quarterly call plan, as I previously mentioned, you're going to be calling these people once a quarter or 4 times a year. The other way you may want to tag it is maybe it's like weeks 1 through 13. Again, I mentioned there's 13 weeks. So if I called somebody the first week of January, I might tag them week 1. And then I'm going to repeat week 1 at the beginning of quarter 2, which would be the beginning of April. So first week of April, I'm searching my database again for week 1 phone calls. Okay. Or you may want to do it by month. So you may take your database and just divide it into 3 months. And then anybody I called in January is going to get a call in April, which is going to get it right. So it might be month 1, month 2, month 3 phone calls. So however you want to divide that out, you can mark them on your database with when they should get called. The other way is if you don't want to tag them this way, the other way is if your database has tasks or reminders set up, you can just set up an automatic reminder system in your database to give you that task at the beginning of the day to make sure that you call those people on a regular basis. Okay. Let's see. I'm just making sure I covered all the information. All right. The other way, so tagging with quarterly call plan. The next one is captured versus connected, right? So this is going to separate those that you have relationship with versus those that you just have their contact information. So I personally like to describe this. The best way to describe captured versus connected is zoo animal versus pet. Okay. So a zoo animal, when you go to the zoo, they've captured the animal. It lives at the zoo. They probably have a name for it, but it probably doesn't come when they call its name. Okay. For the most part, your zoo animal, it's just in a cage. Okay. We've got it. We've trapped it. It doesn't come when called. Versus your pet dog, right? When we have a pet dog, most of the time when we call our dog, or at least it should, it comes back to you and it gets excited that like you called it, right? So that's the difference between captured versus connected. Captured leads are like a zoo animal, right? Those Zillow leads that came in, that sign call that came in off that one listing, we put them in our database because that's what we're supposed to do, but they're captured. We have their contact information. We know their name, but they probably don't know us when we call them. Okay, that's captured versus connected. Those people that we have relationship with, those are probably already tagged with COI, right? Or SOI, those COI or SOI tags that we talked about, or part of your VIP group. But we may want to tag the rest with captured, just so we know really easily, we can sort through and know exactly who is not connected with us. Okay. And then some other ways that you may want to tag your database are going to be with source, group, and intent. Okay, so this is bonus. I would recommend doing this to your database. Number one is source. Where did you meet that client, or where did that contact come from? It might have been like open houses or home show, or maybe they're like a baseball parent for your child, or maybe you met them at a community event. Who knows? Maybe they were a sign call. So we want to know the source. Okay. In addition to that, we probably want to tag them into groups. Are they a past client? Are they a vendor? Are they a business owner? Were they a referral? Right? How do we want to group these? And then also we want to tag them with intent. Are they a buyer, a seller, or an investor? And they might be more than one. But if we tag them with buyer, seller, or investor, we tag them with the event that we met them at or what group they belong to, it makes it really easy that if we want to send out a bulk email to somebody, maybe we want to send out, maybe our newsletter is going to be designed for buyers versus seller leads, right? So those that don't own a home. So we want to tag them that way. So it makes it really easy to sort our database, pull those leads, and send that email to them without wasting too much time hand picking each person. Okay, so to recap, you're going to want to tag your database with VIP or COI, right? Captured versus connected, where you met them, what group did they belong to, what is their intent, and what is their timing? Are they hot, nurture, or watch, as well as potentially tagging them with their quarterly call plan. And again, that's just going to make it so much easier to sort through your database and find the people that you need to connect with and make sure that no one slips through those cracks. Do we have any questions regarding tagging your database? All right. Next, we're going to talk about how to break the mold by leveling up our systems. This is our first step for improving system, or our first step for improving systems is to evaluate what we currently have in place, right? We've got to see, what are we doing? What do we have? And in order to get the results that you desire, you first have to know what your results are, which is going to require you digging into your data. And after that, you're going to have to be willing to change what you're doing and how you're doing it. Okay, if we continue on like we are, we're going to get the same results that we've always gotten. So we've got to level up our game. So I recommend completing a weekly review each and every week. At first, this weekly review might take a little longer, but after you get the hang of it, it should only take about 30 minutes. Okay, step one is you're going to make sure that every lead that you haven't connected with, right? So these are our captured leads, that they're on either a 19 to connect plan. Okay, and we'll go over what that 19 to connect is. We're not going to spend as much time on our non-connected leads as we do with our connected leads or our COI or VIPs, but we do want to make sure they're on a touch plan. Okay, and I would recommend the 19. And like I said, we'll go over that when we start talking about lead generation. Okay, and then once a quarter, I would recommend that we make an attempt to reactivate those leads or to get them to respond by putting them on a 12 to connect plan. Okay, and again, we're going to cover both the 19 and the 12 more in a later session. Okay, but that's the first thing. Make sure they're on that touch plan. Okay, make sure that every buyer in your database is on a property drip. Okay, every buyer in your database should be on a property drip. If they were talking like, you know, it might be they were talking a year out, then our property drip may only drip on them maybe once a week versus as soon as a listing comes up. So we want to adjust that based on where they're at within that buying session, right? How hot they are, where they're at in that process. You know, you host an open house, you get leads that come in. All those leads are either buyer or seller leads. They're either thinking about buying or they were thinking about selling. Hopefully you were able to identify that when they walk through your open house. So even if I've only captured their information, we're not in connection, right? I'm still going to set them up on a property drip based on what I think or based on our conversation during that open house. So they're getting properties dripped on them. That potential buyer that I talked about that said, yeah, but we're probably 12, 13, 14 months out. Like it's probably going to be next year before we buy a house. I'm going to put them on a property drip because I want them to begin thinking about buying a home. And when they see a home that they think they want to buy, I want them to be connected with me and my name. I want it to be branded to me. Okay. Everyone who isn't a buyer should be on a neighborhood update. Some sort of neighborhood nurture plan. It could be that you just have it send them listings from your MLS system specific to their neighborhood. If you can do like a map search, it may be that if you have a system in place like a Real Suite where you can actually identify their neighborhood and send them those updates, right? So there's lots of programs out there that allow you to do that. But if they own a home, they're not thinking about buying, they're not on my list of potential buyers or sellers for the next year, or even if they're on a potential seller, I'm going to have them set up on that neighborhood update so that at least once a month, they're getting some sort of neighborhood update that's telling them what's on the market in their neighborhood, what things are selling for, what that activity looks like. Okay. Step number 4 is going to be, are you contacting the contacts with recent activity? Can you see their recent activity? Some CRMs or contact relationship managers or databases allow you to see if they're opening emails, if they're clicking on properties, right? If I've got everybody set up on either a property search or a neighborhood update, can you see that information? If your database doesn't let you do that, oftentimes your MLS will. Right? So oftentimes you set them up on a search in the MLS instead of using your database. If your database doesn't allow you to see what they're looking at, that MLS system will. You can always look for a system that allows them to be able to do that. But that way you can see that, oh my gosh, look, they've looked at these 4 listings, or they clicked on that neighborhood nurture that I sent out last month and they clicked on some listings. I probably want to connect with them. Hey, how are things going? I saw that you were interested in, a couple properties, or, hey, I know we talked at the beginning of the year and you said you weren't thinking about buying or selling until, next year, but I just wanted to follow up and see how things were going, right? We just want to continually touch base with those people that are clicking and interacting with those listings so that we make sure to catch them when they are ready to go. Because sometimes what happens if we're not reaching out to them, we're not connecting with them, we're leaving it up, we're saying, well, we've got them on a drip, they're clicking on things, but they'll contact me if they need something. Well, sometimes what happens is they go over to one of the other platforms and they look at the same property and they click on it. It says, oh, contact agent. And they're like, oh, that's going to contact Michelle. And then all of a sudden now they've been connected with Susie down the street, and Susie showed them the property and sold them the property. And they'll be like, oh yeah, well, we saw a property we liked, but when we clicked contact agent, we thought it was going to go to you. And then Susie contacted us and said we had to use her, right? So we don't want that to happen. So we want to be in contact with all those people that have recent activity. Number 5 for stepping up your game is make sure everyone's on that quarterly call plan. Whether they're clicking on things or not, whether we're connected with them or not, we should be calling them once a quarter. Okay. And number 6 for stepping up your game are all tasks being done when they are due and before they become overdue. So hopefully your database allows you to set up tasks. If I talk with somebody today and they're like, oh yeah, we're thinking about buying or selling, we're thinking about buying a home. we're not sure where yet. We're not sure what we're doing. We're just kind of mulling it about. You might be like, perfect, let me touch base with you in a couple weeks and see where you're at. Or let me send you over some lender information and I'll follow up with you. We're going to set that task to remind us to call them back in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks down the road, or even just our quarterly call plan, making sure we're executing that. We want to make sure all those tasks are being done when they are due and before they become overdue. If your CRM doesn't allow you to set up tasks inside of that, then you can set them up inside your calendar, right? So you can utilize your calendar for that. There's lots, or you could use like Todoist. There's like a whole program to set up like reminders and tasks and to-dos. So there's lots of different systems out there. Find one that's going to send you reminders so that you don't miss anything. Okay. If any of these pieces are missing, we're going to want to make sure that we remedy that issue. And in a few minutes, we're going to go over how to wow your clients with connection and relationship. So those are kind of the 5 steps to stepping up your game. So again, number 1 is make sure that if you aren't connected with them, they're just a contact, right? They're captured, that we have them on a interaction plan, just like we would everybody else. Make sure every buyer's on a property drip. Everyone who isn't a buyer should be on a neighborhood update. That you're connecting with all those that have recent activities, that everyone's on a quarterly call plan, and that all tasks are being done when they are due. All right. Next is we're going to step up our COI, right? We're going to build a COI system. Again, that circle of influence or sphere of influence. We want to identify and communicate value, right? So we want to build value and create value. We want to make sure that we fill our database with people. We want to make sure that we create an interaction plan, and we want to add personalized touches along the way. Okay. The key to getting the results from your database in the form of your database, either buying or selling homes through you, and also we want them handing us a steady stream of referrals. Okay, so building a COI system is the key to that. So let's dig deeper into that. First, we want to talk about how to identify and communicate value. So identify your main area. You may be like, Amy, I sell houses all over the state of California. Well, that's great. You probably have an area that you would prefer to service, like one that doesn't cause you to have to drive an hour to go show properties. That's probably going to be your main area. And don't worry if you want to expand it later on, like totally fine. We can add additional main areas. But the goal here is that we're going to become the Google of our area, right? So for everybody in that area, we're going to become the Google. You're going to want to know the local economy. You want to become the real estate expert. You're going to want to compile a vendor list for all the services for someone who owns or rents a home may use. You want to know all the community information, events, parks, restaurants, activities, etc. Your goal is to know the area because that's going to be your value. You want to be hyper local and the go-to for all information in your area and for all people in your database, right? If they're like, oh my gosh, I was looking for a special restaurant to take my spouse to for our anniversary, they're gonna be like, oh, I'm going to call, Connie and ask Connie what restaurant she would recommend. Right? Because she seems to know all the really good places, right? Or it may be, hey, do we have a handyman, or do we have a window cleaner or a house cleaner, or who knows what they might need. We want to be that expert. We want to know which parks have dog parks, which parks are great for birthday parties, which ones you have to reserve spots to versus you can just show up and have an event at, right? We want to know what's going on in the area. What activities are there? Is it in the summertime and there's, a movie theater in the area that offers like a summer movie series where they have a discounted ticket price, right? Different things like that. What can we communicate and bring value to the people in our area? And we want to be the expert. Okay, so become the Google. Okay, now that you've identified the area, I skipped one, and created the items of value, make a list with everyone that knows you and everyone that you know in that area. You could even tag your database, right, with all the people that fall into your main service area. we might connect with those people differently than those that are out of state, right? Or that those that are in Southern California or those that are further away. Okay. I'm going to continue to build my database, not just with all those people, but I'm going to continue to build it with the local business owners. Let's go connect with the people that own businesses in our areas and get to know them. You can start with the businesses that you frequent on a regular basis. The expectation there is that, hey, if I frequent you and I'm probably referring people to you and I'm added you to my value list for my customers and clients, like if somebody talks about real estate, will you refer them to me? Or can I put my cards in your business, right? Like, how can you make it a beneficial win-win relationship between you and the business owners? But you want to connect with all those local business owners and get them added to your database as well. Okay, so makes sense. We're going to make a list, connect with businesses, and make sure we add all those to our CRM or our database. Okay, we're just filling our database with people from our service area. And then the next thing that you should do is, in addition to your quarterly phone call, I would like you to reach out to each person in your database with a personal interaction. Okay, and it might be a text, it might be a direct message, or if you want the biggest impact, send people handwritten notes in the mail. Okay, I mean, right, how cool is it when you get like good personal mail, not just bills and junk mail in your mailbox, right? It's super cool when you get an envelope and actually somebody's written you a note. And the goal of this personalized communication once per quarter is it's not going to be business in nature. Okay, we have our quarterly phone call. We'll go over everything else that you're going to do that are going to be businessy in nature. This interaction, whether it's text message, direct message, or sending a note, is just going to be about building relationship, checking in on them, right? When we talked to them last time, they mentioned that their dog was sick. Send them a note. Hey, I just wanted to touch base. I know that last time we talked, your dog wasn't feeling well. I hope it's better. I would love to connect with you soon. Whatever that is, like, just send it out there. Okay, if maybe you've got them on social media and you notice that, man, I noticed that, so-and-so's mom just passed away. That personal interaction might just be sending them a card in the mail of just saying, I'm so sorry your mom passed, right? Nothing business related, just an interaction on a personal level. Okay, when I say personal too, it doesn't mean that like the card can't have your logo on it or you don't include your business card or whatever. You can do that. You don't have to, but you could. It's just the message itself shouldn't be business in nature. Okay, that's going to level up your level of connection and relationship with the people in your database. When people feel like you care about them on a personal level, they're going to be more likely to call you when they're ready to do business. All right. And then next, in order to yield the conversion ratio that we desire from our database, we need to be interacting with them on a regular systematic way, right? So statistics show that we should interact with our database a minimum of 36 times per year, and more is better in order to get that conversion ratio up to that like 1 in 12 or 1 in 10. Okay, so here's what those interactions should look like. Everyone in your database should get that quarterly phone call. We've talked about that like 20 times already between yesterday and today. Okay, there is nothing that replaces a phone call. You can try other interactions. You can be like, Amy, I'm afraid of the phone. Can I text them? Yes, you can, but it's not going to yield the same results as picking up that phone and calling them on a quarterly basis. Okay, in addition to that quarterly phone call, they should get 24 emails per year. And these 36 interactions are going to be for those people that would be considered like circle of influence or people that know who you are. Okay. So what I would recommend is 12 newsletters, like a monthly newsletter, and then also like a monthly neighborhood update, or that might be that property search as well. And I would stagger them. So if they're getting like a monthly neighborhood update on their area where they live, and an email newsletter, one might go out on like the 1st of the month and one might go out on the 15th. Okay, so just stagger those so they're not getting them all at the same time. Then it's best to invite to 2 events. Okay, host some events. You could do like a national night out. You could host it in the park. It takes very little money or effort. You can just call up the local authorities, register your park for National Night Out. The trash trucks show up, the police cars, the fire trucks, they all show up. You can invite your database and say, hey, I'm hosting National Night Out at our park. It's going to be really fun. Bring a potluck item, right? Whatever it is. We did like ice creams one time at National Night Out. It was super fun. So something to that effect. It could be like you rent a movie theater, right? So it could be something that is really above and beyond, or just an activity or event. So it doesn't matter, but invite to 2 events. Keep in mind too, that usually when we invite to an event, that would be considered on our interaction, or 36 interactions, as 2 touches or 2 interactions. But it's actually going to be closer to 6, because we're going to call them and invite them to the event. We're going to see them at the event, and then we're going to call them after the event to follow up with them and say, hey, thank you so much for coming, or I'm so sorry you couldn't make it. We've now turned that event into 3 interactions. So it's not just 1. Okay, so we want to make sure we have 2 events. And then we want to send 2 cards, okay, for anything, but I recommend a birthday card and a home anniversary card. Okay, people like getting cards on their birthdays, and they like being reminded of their home anniversary. Okay, in addition, we're going to do 4 pop buys or items in the mail. That's where a pop buy would be, where you like put a little something together. I wish I had an example of one floating around my office, but I don't right now. One year we did Christmas paper. We went to the dollar store and we picked up dollar rolls of Christmas wrapping paper in December, and we dropped them by our circle of influence and our VIP clients' houses with a little tag that said, thanks for helping us wrap up a great year. I thought it was stupid. Okay. Honestly, like the wrapping paper, I'm kind of like a little anal about my wrapping paper and what I choose to wrap my presents in my house. So handing people other wrapping paper that really, I didn't really think was that pretty. It came from the dollar store. It wasn't great paper, but I also procrastinated on doing it. So I was doing it about this same time, probably 3 years ago. And every door that I knocked on to drop off that wrapping paper roll that said, hey, thanks for helping us wrap up a great year, the number of people that are like, oh my gosh, you just saved me a trip to the store. Thank you so much for dropping this wrapping paper off. Something that seemed really stupid to me was really fabulous. It didn't cost much money. It was like maybe $1.50 per person that for the houses that I dropped it off with. One year we did pumpkins. It said, we're grateful. It was between Thanksgiving and our Halloween and Thanksgiving. And we just said, hey, we're grateful for our clients, asking for referrals, right? So it just had a little card. If you search, you go to like Pinterest, you can search realtor pop buys and get all sorts of fun ideas depending on their all sorts of different seasons. So I recommend dropping something off on their doorstep once a quarter. Okay, 4 mailed or dropped off ideas. For those that maybe aren't part of your VIP group, aren't circle of influence, that's something you may want to mail to them. So some ideas of things that you could mail would be like maybe like a calendar fridge magnet, right? I know most people's fridges aren't magnetic anymore, but something in their house is magnetic and they'll still keep it and like it. I've seen a lot of people, I go to people's houses now and I see those on their stove fronts because their stoves are magnetic. Maybe if they close a transaction this year, then one of the things that you're going to mail to them would be a copy of their closing statement so they have it for taxes. Once a year, you should mail anybody who owns a home in your database a CMA report, right? Do a CMA for their house. It can be kind of general in nature. It doesn't have to be super specific, but do that and send it in the mail to them. Keep them up to date on what their house is worth. Okay, so just some ideas. It does say 4 cards on here. I gave you 2 cards. I would send out 2 other cards throughout the year, and it would probably be for holidays. And I would randomly pick some holidays throughout the year that then become part of my system. I am not a fan of Christmas cards. And the only reason I'm not a fan of Christmas cards is everybody sends cards at Christmas. So when you send a Christmas card at Christmas, it's kind of a waste of an interaction because it just gets put in the pile of Christmas cards. So pick other holidays, send out an Easter card, send out a Thanksgiving card, Happy New Year card, right? Like pick something different where they're not getting cards from other people and send out 2 additional cards in addition to their birthday and their home anniversary. Okay. Any questions about those 36 interactions? And notice it says 36 plus because we want to do at least 36. We can do more. Okay, we're going to talk now about supercharged interactions, how to take it beyond 36 to the next level. So 36 is the minimum. And in order to yield that return on our database to get that 1 in 12, we need those 36 interactions. If we want to increase our ratio even higher, collect more referrals, then we have to supercharge it. Okay, so we already talked about number one, those personalized interactions, right? Sending them a note card once a quarter. Okay, so do that. That's going to add to your interaction. So that's in addition to those 36 touches. I would also recommend putting them on a rotation so that you're connecting with them once a month. So we already talked about a quarterly phone call. If my quarterly phone call with them fell in January, then in February, I'm going to purposefully interact with them on social media. Okay, and then in March, I'm going to send them a text message. Okay, and the text message might be something like, hey, James, this is Amy. I was just in your neighborhood and passed by your house, and I was thinking about you. I passed by your house while I was showing properties. I was thinking about you. How are things going, right? Now I've reminded James that I'm a realtor, that I show properties, right? Hey, I was in your neighborhood because I was showing properties. How are things going? And I'm checking in with them, right? Great interaction. And then we're going to rinse and repeat, right? So once a quarter, phone call, social media, and text message. Now, my goal with that is that by sending the text message the month before I go to call them again, that they're on my touch plan, they're going to be more likely to answer my phone call. I've reminded them who I am each month, and they're going to be more likely to answer that phone call. Not only that, I may even know what they've got going on in their life to have a more personal conversation that can lead into business. Okay, so that's supercharged interactions, the 4 text message and social media. I would add those in. You can bump it up. Instead of 2 client events, have 5 client events. And you're like, Amy, 2 client events stress me out a little bit. Well, that's okay. All right. What we could do is maybe add in like a happy hour. Is happy hour something you're going to anyways? Maybe take a handful of clients each month and invite them to join you at happy hour. That's an event. We don't have to invite our entire database to happy hour this week. We can invite like 20 people a month, right? It could be you could narrow that down. It may be like a fall festival or something, or even like a charity event, right? So think outside the box, and maybe you want to get together with other agents in your office and put on like a fall festival around Halloween time where you have like games and activities and candy, and they can invite their clients. You can invite your clients. Everybody kind of hosts a booth together. You can invite vendors to have a booth. It could be a really fun activity that you get other people's assistance and help on. It could be something, maybe you're leveraging what your office already does. Like our office has, we have like concerts in the square, and our office overlooks that square. So on those nights, they have the office open where we can invite people to. So maybe you're inviting a few people to that on a weekly basis, right? So use activities and events as a way to connect with people. The more time you have FaceTime with your contacts in your database, the more likely they are to transact with you. Okay. Life events, pay attention to what your contacts have going on in their lives, right? Watch their social media, and then send out those cards for major life events, things like deaths in their family, new pets, lost pets, marriages, childbirths, all those things. Pay attention to them. Don't hesitate to celebrate with your clients. Okay, it makes it fun. It makes them thought about, and it's a good way to remind them. You can there's like AM cards and send out cards where you can have like a membership to cards. So it makes it really easy to send out nice cards. In fact, like I just had a client myself that went through open heart surgery with their child, and I have a send out card. So I actually went into send out cards and sent out some brownies with the card. So I sent out a little gift with that card of hope they have a speedy recovery. Super nice interaction. Once she got that, she texted me and said, hey, thank you so much. That was so nice, right? Really nice interaction. It doesn't take up their time where you're trying to like have a phone call with them while they're in the hospital or anything like that. It's just a great way to remind them that you're thinking about them. Last thing there is charity events, right? Find some charity or community events to support. It gives you a couple additional interactions as you promote the event, or you could do like, a charity drive. You could do even an activity or event where all the money, maybe a silent auction that you could run, and all that money goes to the charity. It might be something like you sponsor a dog with every closing, right? Find ways to interact with the community as well as with your database. Any questions so far on the 36 interactions or supercharging those interactions? All right, continuing right along. Think beyond the norm, right? We want to bring the wow with unique interactions to knock their socks off. So let's look at some ideas with that. Make sure I'm at the beginning. All right. Just waiting for my screen to catch up with me. Let's see here. There we go. All right. You could do like in the fall, instead of sending a card like, oh, happy fall, you could actually like get the leaf bags printed with your logo on it and go hand those out to your clients. So now not only are they reminded that, hey, I'm Amy, I'm in real estate, and hey, I know you got leaves in your yard, but now the people that are driving by that see those bags also are seeing your logo. You could do spring home photos, right? Maybe each spring you offer them the opportunity to, at a discounted rate, to get some photos of their home. Oftentimes people spring clean their homes. So it may be like we know you're probably not selling your home this spring, but it's always a great idea to have a set of spring photos when your home looks its best, both inside and out, in case you should ever decide to sell. Right? Super easy interaction, super fun. Maybe you want to host a golf or a bowling or a pickleball tournament. I know pickleball's all the rage right now. So maybe you want to host something fun that can get people involved. Maybe that's where, that money goes towards the charity, but it gives you a fun interaction with them. Maybe you're going to do a shredding party where you invite a shredding company to bring their truck or their shredder, and then you invite clients to come down and shred all their papers. April, May might be a good time to do that after they've completed all their taxes and they're shredding last year's tax or, previous year's taxes that they no longer need and all the information they didn't need for their taxes. Maybe you're going to have a junk removal party, right? Maybe you reach out to your clients and say, hey, on this date, if you let me know, if you register, I'm going to send somebody around to pick up all the junk off your curb for you. Right? Super fun interactions that you can have with your database. Here's some more. We could do gutter cleaning. Maybe we partner with a gutter cleaning company to get a discounted rate, and we reach out and say, hey, and think of a month where maybe the gutter cleaning company isn't going to be as busy, right? They're probably really busy when it starts raining, but when it's not raining, like in June, they're probably a little slow. So, hey, would you offer my clients a discounted rate, right, for gutter cleaning if they choose to book it this month? Now we're partnering with a business and helping them get more business and helping provide something for our clients. Same thing with window cleaning. Maybe you're going to have an ice cream truck come to the office and you can have people come to you for an ice cream party. Maybe you're going to host a block party, same idea as that national night out. You could do charity drives, right? Great way to care about your community as well as get donations. Maybe you're doing a charity drive for coats or food, or maybe for the local SPCA, you're doing like a blanket drive or a toy drive for the dogs, or a food drive for a local rescue. All sorts of good things in there. I know sometimes the police officers in different areas will have like stuffed animals and stuff in their trunk. So as they go to calls where there's kids involved, they can pull stuffed animals out. So check with your police department. What do they need? What would be helpful? Right? And then oftentimes we do lots of food drives this time of year, but come the spring, nobody's doing food drives. So then the charities and the pantries start to empty out. You could do a pie giveaway. You could do Santa or Grinch photos. You could do an Easter egg hunt, a movie night. It could be where you rent a theater, or maybe you just host like a movie in the park. I talked with an agent one time that they just moved to a new area. And so as they connected with people, they decided they were going to host movies in their backyard during the summer. So then as they met people in their area, they invited them to their movie night every Friday night and asked them to bring people with them. And that was a good way to connect with people and meet new people in an area where you may not know that many people. It's also a good idea, right? We were talking about maybe happy hours or activities or events, like host a movie night outside, make it super fun. You could do seminars, right? You could do buyer seminars, you could do seller seminars. You could do like a move up seminar for those people that are thinking about, they're adding to their family. What kind of things would they need to know? Or even like an empty nester seminar, things to think about as your family's moving out. Maybe even have like a trust attorney there, right? So think outside the box. What do people need to know about? And how can you help them get that information? The list just keeps on going, just so you know, like wine tours, Zoom events, right? We don't even have to host like in-person events. You could do Zoom events. You could do a concert. You can always do raffles, right? Fun raffles, pet photos. People love their pets way too much. So do some pet photos. That's a good way to get people out. Sports brackets, during like March Madness or anything like that, like host the brackets for that, or do a fantasy football league. You could do a pumpkin patch. Sometime maybe you pre-buy some pumpkins and then you invite everybody to the pumpkin patch. You could do DIY classes, and you don't even have to be the person that knows how to DIY. You could find other people that can teach that information. You could do yoga or fitness classes. You could do a Christmas light tour where you rent a bus, load everybody up on the bus. First 30 people or 50 people to RSVP get to go on the Christmas light tour. Maybe you've got like holiday drinks and Christmas music going, and you tour all the good spots to see those Christmas lights, right? Fun things to think outside of the box. Mixology class, game night, apple picking, pet adoption, chili cook-off, like the list just keeps going. Sporting events. You could raffle off like a professional organizer. You could host a bingo night. You could do a lawn care giveaway. So just think of things that other people aren't doing. Okay. So that's how to wow them, how to take it beyond just a normal transaction to like bringing value and the wow experience to those people in your database. All right. Any questions or thoughts before we move on? All right. We're going to become the customer service master. Okay. So this is just a reminder. Make sure that you answer your phone. Okay. I've called 50 agents in the last 2 weeks, and only probably 7 of them answered their phone on the first phone call. Okay. So please answer your phone. Number one way to get business, answer your phone. Okay. Especially like sometimes I call for like referrals, and the person who answers the phone is the person who's going to get that referral. So make sure you answer your phone. Or oftentimes if you're busy, it's okay. Have your phone set to send an automated text message. Hey, I'm in an appointment. Like somebody calls me, if I'm in an appointment, I can hit the little text message and it pops up like little blips of automated text message I can send. And one of those is, hey, I'm in an appointment. Text me for a quicker response, or I'll call you back as soon as I'm done. Right? That way they know that, hey, I saw them call. I'm not just ignoring them, and I will get back to you. Okay. Be professional in your language, your attire. The way that you communicate should ooze professional, and then go above and beyond. If someone needs something, figure out how to take it a step further. Do the extra, under promise and over deliver to become that social media, or sorry, I was looking at my next slide, to become that customer service master. Okay. Another way to level up your game would be to use Facebook groups to engage with your database. Create a VIP group where you can put past clients, your VIP, your circle of influence, and just make sure that you're feeding that group with that value. So those community events that are coming up, that list of vendors that you created or referrals, like sprinkle on them inside of that group to provide value and continue to keep them engaged and with interactions and reminding them that you're in real estate. The goal would be you want to post at least, right? We're trying to provide value. So the goal would be that you would post in that group at least once a day. You can schedule your posts, right? Ideally, if you want to step it up, you would post 2 to 3 times per day, or maybe post once and then make sure you go in there and comment on everybody else's posts or their comments and make sure you dig into it and just create those interactions. Our goal is discussions and engagements, and they don't all have to be real estate related, right? In fact, very few of those posts should be about buying or selling homes. People can add their friends and family if you set it up appropriately, which is good because then now they're created like this referral network inside of there where you're the expert. And it could just be like, hey, what kind of curtains do you like best? Or I'm getting ready to list this property and they're going to paint it. What color do you think they should paint it? Right? Or who's going to go to the pickleball tournament this weekend? Or did you know that this offers, this place offers a free class the first Friday of the month, or the ice skating rink does free ice skating if it's over 110, right? So post things of value in there that might pique their interest, that are going to solicit feedback. And I'd be really careful on this group to let any other real estate agents in. Okay, I would not. You want to be the go-to, and you want to encourage people to add them in. Maybe you run a raffle or something out of that group and tell people that they can invite their friends and family to join for a raffle. Okay. So use the Facebook group to engage. Couple bonus items before we wrap up for the day. I know it's 10 o'clock. So I've only got a couple things left. One is Ford Sandwich. Anytime I have conversations with anybody in my database, my goal is family, occupation, recreation, dreams. I call it the Ford Sandwich because we're going to open with Ford. Then we're going to talk about business, and then I'm going to wrap it up at the end with Ford. Again, the goal is relationships. So I want to know, hey, what's going on with their family? How's their job? What do they have planned? What do they have coming up? Right. And then I'm going to, because I'm listening at the end of the conversation, I'm going to wrap it back in with, oh my gosh, I hope you guys have a great vacation. Or, oh my, your family's really in my thoughts as you guys embark on this next season where you're going to be, having that cancer treatment. Or, I'll check back in a couple of weeks and see how that dog is doing, right? So whatever it is, like wrap it back up. So Ford Sandwich, Ford at the beginning, Ford at the end. That's why we call it a Ford Sandwich. That's the bread. And then, last but not least, I like to tackle all of my calls for the week with what I call the 3-step approach. Okay, ideally you'd call like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but it might be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. It really doesn't make a difference, just 3 separate days. On day 1, I'm going to call, right? So all my contacts that I'm supposed to call this week, I pull them all up on day 1. Day 1, if they don't answer, I'm going to leave them a message. The message is going to sound something like this. Hey, it's Amy. I was just looking to touch base with you. I'll try you later this week. Have a great day. Right? I really don't want them calling me back. Ideally, I want to be in charge of my phone calls. So often I have call time now, and then I go on to appointments. So I'm going to call them, leave that message. Day 2, when I call them, if they don't answer again, right? So I'm going to call everybody who I didn't talk with on day 1. Day 2, I'm going to call them. If they don't answer on day 2, I'm going to send them a text message, something similar to the phone message that I left. It's just going to be, hey, it's Amy, just looking to touch base. I'll try you later this week. Right? I'm just priming them for the fact that, hey, I'm going to call you again. Okay. Out of 25 phone calls last week, I think I got 6 that answered on the first day, but then I had like 10 that answered on the second day because they were expecting my phone call. Okay. So day 2, send that text message. On day 3, when I call them, so I'm going to call all the people that didn't talk to on Monday or on Tuesday, the remaining people, I'm going to call them again for day 3. If day 3, they don't answer, I'm going to also leave them a message and send them a text message. And it's going to say something like, hey, it's Amy. I'm sorry we weren't able to connect this week. Please reach out if you have any real estate related questions or needs. Have a great weekend, right? It's usually close to the weekend. So I'm just reminding them, hey, I'm in real estate. The text message is going to be very similar to the voicemail message. Some people don't listen to their voicemail, so that's why I send both on the last day. And I'm not asking them to call me back. I'm just reminding them, hey, I'm in real estate. Now they're off my list. I'm not going to call them again for another quarter. Okay, it's a really good approach to get people to answer their phone because you're setting it up for success by that 3rd day. They're anticipating your phone call. That brings us to the end of today's class. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. Hopefully you walk away with some solid ahas, something that you can implement into your business. If you have any questions, let me know. There's a link in the chat box that you can click on to register, and Abby will let you know when today's recording is up. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into lead generation, the only way to grow your database. We'll talk about some fun things regarding lead generation. Thursday, we're going to have leverage listings for leads. And then remember, Friday is no longer happening on Friday. It's going to happen next Tuesday because we have another medical procedure for my daughter. I'd much rather be here with you guys teaching, but unfortunately, we have to go and have a procedure done. So that's what we're doing. So we'll be covering the farming to grow bigger crops on Tuesday, the 26th. Thank you, Jennifer. And as always, these are all recorded. So again, you can click that link and we'll be updated of when those recordings are issued, or you can find my YouTube channel, which is where they'll get posted to, and you can like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. So if you search RE According, the number 2 Amy, 221. In fact, I think maybe I can copy and paste it in the chat box. Let's see. Let's check my technical skills. Nope. Doesn't like me today. Let's try that again. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts before we wrap up for today? Oh, there, the link's in there. Ta-da. Fabulous. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about lead generation is tomorrow's class. Have a fabulous day.